Good Thursday morning to you. It is 8 o'clock, and so this is the time when I try to go live. I can't do that every day because sometimes things get in the way. Sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes people have needs, and I respond to those. You know, somebody's in a pickle and they can't get out all of a sudden. I'll come in. I'll help. So I like that, and I'm glad to be able to do that because today's topic is, as Facebook gathers an audience for us here, today's topic is really simple. Today's topic is, do you do what you love? It's just a good question. Do you do what you love? It was 2006. I was getting ready to take a rather long trip. It was going to span over 3 weeks, and I love to read, but most of this was going to be a road trip. So not being able to read while driving, which is really not a good idea. I've tried to discourage people from doing that because it's not in their best interest to do that. I stopped and I picked up a book that I had been meaning to read because I'd read the first two. The first two were Break All the Rules, and the next one was Now Discover Your Strengths. So I decided that it would be really important for me to get the next book, but I decided to get it so I could listen to it in the car. So this tells you how long ago this was. This is on CDs, okay? I don't even know where I can get a CD player these days. But anyhow, in 2006, this was going to be a really long trip. I went across the state of Kansas, went across the state of Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, all the way to Kentucky, back to St. Louis, and then left there, went to Billings, Montana, did a training in Billings, Montana, went over and spent Thanksgiving with my son, and came back. And when we got home, I was home for about 12 hours and on a plane to Houston, Texas. That used to be my life. That's what I did all the time, and I loved it. But this is what I discovered in this. There's an interesting comment that's made a gazillion times in this, and I probably listened to this somewhere between 8 and 12 times during that 3-week trip. My poor wife, she got to listen to it for part of the way, and listened to it numerous times. And so it's a really, really good book, and it's a really good premise. And he says everything that you do, every task that you do, you should actually write down, do I love this or do I loathe it? Do I love it or do I loathe it? And I think that's a really good question. Do you love what you do or do you hate some aspect of it? Because we're not going to love everything. It's really important to understand we're not going to love everything. But if we can increase the number of things that we love and decrease the number of things that we don't, and thus becoming more effective, and also if we can offload, if we can download, if we can outsource, all those popular terms today, if we can pass that off to somebody else who can help us in those, and they may love it. They may definitely love it. And if we can pass that off to them so that they can love what they do and do what you loathe, it will be helpful to you. So that's the whole premise of Go Put Your Strengths to Work. It was a great book, and I really, really loved it. But this is the thing that I want to ask you this morning is, do you do what you love? So that's kind of key to your success, is doing what you love. Because if you do what you love, things change for you drastically. So I had to ask myself this question. I was on the road for a long, long time. It's because I'm trying to hide the text on the wall. This is my work. This is my playground over here. This is where I do all my hard work. And so because I'm doing a live feed video, I leave the camera so it's reversed. It's just a little insight into why I do that. I can put clients' names up there and you can't see them going forward. So it's kind of why I do that. I can put objectives up there that I don't necessarily want to share with the world, but I don't want to move into a different spot either. So I used to do all my live feeds from my patio, and then the train would go by, and then a semi truck would come down with his Jake brake running, and none of that seemed to work really well. So I moved back inside so it would be a little quieter. We have a little bit better environment, a little more controlled environment. So anyhow, back to the point. I listened to this over and over and over again, talking about what do you love, what do you loathe, and comparing those two things and maximizing your opportunity by doing those things that you really love to do. So my question to you this morning is, do you do what you love? Because what I discovered is listening to this is that there were some things that I had in my job that I loved. And there were some things I didn't necessarily care for, like that I just described to you, the trip, not because I wanted you to see how far I drove, but because I wanted you to see that those aren't always the most exciting things to do, okay? I would actually drive at night so I could be in each one of those cities during the day. and be able to do my trainings while I was there because I loved doing the training. I didn't necessarily like doing the traveling. And so what has happened over time is that things have evolved. And in the evolution of things, I don't have to be present anymore to do that. And so I've moved from that. I'm going to do trainings, and I'm going to have to drive to your place. I'm going to set up. I'm going to stick notes on the wall. I'm going to do a live presentation. As much as I love that, and as much as I enjoy the energy that I get from the crowd, it got to taking a big toll on my body to do that. So that part that I didn't like began to grow. And that was not good. So as things have evolved, I've found that I can do this very thing right here. I can go live, and I can share things with you live, because that's makes more sense. It's easier for people to be able to come in when they want to. Some of you have come in and joined us already this morning. You can get a chance to come in when you want to. You can leave when you want to. That's the other good thing. And I can start when I want to, and I can end when I want to, and I don't have to have a hotel room in order to make it happen. So I've moved in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't travel like I used to, and now I do things here. Good morning, Doug. Good to see you. Now I do things here, and so I just made a list. And I'm going to give you 3 things to do with this in just a minute. But I just randomly thought, how's that evolution changed things for you? Well, I've done more than 400 live feeds, and they've been viewed, I don't know how many, tens of thousands of times, maybe hundreds of thousands of times. I've done more than 400 live feeds. I've done more than 650 step-by-step videos that people can take and watch and look at and go, oh, that's how you do this, or that's where you go with this, or that's where that goes, or this is how you make that work, or this is how you can get paid for that. All of those things, I've done over 650 of those. I did 653 was the video last night. And I've done 175 webinars on how do you do this? How do you do that? Over 175 webinars. And I have one group alone. Remember my thing this year was to build community and content. I have one community alone that I put 51 videos in that community, just one community alone. And I do that in three communities. I just got tired of counting. So 50. So the point is that I was able to do what I love, even though I did it in a different platform, because it got to the point where I didn't love the traveling anymore. I didn't love spending every night in a hotel. I didn't love eating by myself in a restaurant, but I still get a chance to do what I love. And that's really important. Do you do what you love? So let me give you 3 things and then we'll be done today. The first one is, what activities are you doing today that's going to move you closer to the things that you love? That's question number 1. Question number 1 is, what activities am I doing today that's going to move me closer to the things that I love? That's number 1. Number 2, what distracts you? That's an interesting one. What distracts you? What distracts you from doing the things that you love? Because sometimes we get so easily distracted. And I don't care what arena that you're in. I don't care what you're doing. It's easy to get distracted. And you have a mission, you have a passion, you have something, you're in pursuit of something that you love, and then you get distracted. Now, sometimes the distractions are necessary. If they're fixing to shut your lights off, then that's not just a distraction; it's a necessity. But very important that you understand that you can't be distracted from the things that you love. Honestly, you can't. It doesn't make any difference whether it's people or if it's things or whatever it is. You can't. Don't let things distract you from that. Some people can be distracting. So what distracts you from your goal or from your objective? And the reason why you get distracted is because you don't have a clear goal or objective. If you have a very clear goal or objective, then it's a little harder to get distracted by that email that comes promising you're going to make five figures a week. Stop being distracted by those things, because it'll take you away from the thing that you love. Okay? The second thing is a false belief. If you have a false belief, it's easy to get distracted. If you believe that there's a magic bullet out there that's all of a sudden just going to start filling up your PayPal account, that's a false belief, and that false belief will allow you to get distracted. All right? Don't let the false beliefs lead you to away from the thing that you love. So, two things that you need to be aware of that'll keep you from being distracted. Number one is have a clear goal and objective, and number two is to deal with those false beliefs that you might have that cause you to think that, oh, this is it, and it takes you away from the thing that you really love. And then the third thing is, and I wrote down this, and this is real, I wish I could show you how I wrote this, because it is what motivates you, and I struck out motivate, because motivation is something that comes from the outside. I want to talk about the things that come from the inside, because love is an inside thing. It's not an outside thing. Lust is an outside thing, but love is an inside thing. And it's what motivates you, and I struck that out, and I put what makes you come alive. Because what makes you come alive is the thing that you love. It's the thing that I used to call this, it's what jumps you out of bed in the morning. It's the thing that causes you to come alive. When you come alive, that's different than being motivated. Motivation is going to last for a moment. But the thing that makes you come alive is the thing that's going to drive you every day to do better, to get better, to be better, to focus, to not get distracted, to take those activities today that are going to move you closer to that thing that you love and that thing that you can pursue. Okay? So 3 simple things. What activities are you doing today? Identify what distracts you and what you can do to stop that. And number 3 is what makes you come alive. What makes you come alive is the thing that will drive you. What I discovered listening to Marcus Buckingham was I discovered that there were some things that really made me come alive. I've had to change the way I do those things. All right? I've had to change the way I do those things. I no longer get to go to a hotel and spend the night and eat by myself in a restaurant and get to stand in front of a bunch of people and make a presentation. I don't get to do that anymore. And that's okay, because I got to the point where I didn't love that anymore. That was not what I loved. What I loved was making complex things simple. And that's what makes me come alive. That's what drives me. That's what motivates me and drives me. Not just motivates, but what makes you come alive. Because if you can pursue that thing, then everything else makes sense. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday morning. I love you. I look forward to talking to you next week.